Just a second. Oh god, I don't remember how to find it.
Don't worry. I don't know if anyone is gonna see the stream anyway, so.
Oh, it says it's live. Okay.
Yes? Oh, okay. That's nice.
Oh, great. Oh, why doesn't it do that when I do it?
I clicked it on OBS Go Live.
Yeah, so that's how
Yeah.
it's supposed to work.
Yeah, then
In
it
the
worked.
past when I've done it, it's like you have to go.
I guess I'm lucky.
Yeah, it lets you more.
Okay.
It's good.
I don't know. Should we close the door?
It's up to you guys.
Maybe it's better because we are gonna work with some recordings, so we can hear them well.
Okay.
If we want to record later, that also might be better in the super quiet. Okay, so hello everyone. I'm very happy that people showed up. Actually, today's topic is a bit maybe different than what usually is done here. Because usually it's very technical, a lot of coding, but today I'm gonna talk more about language and sounds. So like you can see, it's exploring the world of sounds, and this is gonna be an introduction to phonetics, phonology, generally linguistics, so we can understand the basic concepts, and the language measurement, and we are gonna do some fun exercise, hopefully fun. I don't know, I find them fun. So first, welcome to the presentation. My name is Dagumara, or Daga, whatever is more comfortable to you. If both are uncomfortable, you can figure out something else. I'm actually full stack developer, so I don't work with this stuff on daily basis. But I graduated both computer science, but I also graduated language brain and computers. That's why I have certain knowledge about linguistics, and I really enjoy it. That's why I still continue to like delve into it, read about it, and study about it. This is a disclaimer. I am not professional in the field. I didn't release any papers. And all the information in this presentation are my knowledge, my personal knowledge, and materials acquired from my professor. I asked him, he was nice enough to, he was supposed to originally come and do a lecture, but he moved to States. So I'm doing it instead of him, but he was nice enough to share some stuff with us. So today's plan, first we are gonna do some introduction to linguistics. So I'm going to explain the basic concept that you need to understand in order to actually measure the language and understand what I'm talking about. Because if I start talking right now, we're going to measure stops, you're going to be like, the only stop I know is on the street. You're not going to maybe understand anything. So we are going to do like simple introduction, and then I'm going to introduce Praat. Everybody has Praat on their laptop or not? You don't need to pull it out now, but I'm just... like if you didn't install it, you can install it while I introduce other topics. You don't need it if you don't want to delve into exercises, but I think it's gonna be fun. So I'm gonna introduce it really in a short manner because it's a very simple program. If you downloaded it, you know it looks very old school, but it's a standard. So that's what we're gonna do. And while explaining Praat and some other concepts, we are gonna do some measuring sound exercises. I have some recordings, so I'm gonna share those recordings with you guys so you can try on the recordings because it's very clear and it's gonna be easy to measure. But if you want to measure your own sound production, we can also do that maybe later. So you can hear me right now, and you can probably tell that I'm not a native English speaker. But what gives it away? We really are what's wrong with my pronunciation and my sounds that gives it away that I'm not a native speaker? The same problem is in Korean. We often hear that a pronunciation is wrong, or there is something, I don't know if a foreign part of the group understands this, but it's basically that it's weird pronunciation, awkward pronunciation, right? And what does it mean? What do we mean? Yeah, it's kind of funny. We're good. But what does it mean to have wrong pronunciation, right? How we can tell that, for example, if I say pang, but I meant pang, right? And everybody are laughing because there's almost no difference right now if I said it. What does it make? What's the difference? How we decide whether it's wrong or weird, right? So the problem with that is that it strives from difficulties in learning second or third or fourth language, right? So for example, here we have examples with Korean. We have Hanguk, 한국어, 공부, 학교, and 카드. And we have so many Korean categories. We have so many of them, right? And they often change because of the placement, even though, like, we say in Korean we have kyuk, sankyuk, and kyuk, right? But there's so many actual sounds that can be done in the middle or at the end. But in English, we have G and K, right? So it's really hard to wrap around our head around. And this is still pretty easy. If you, for example, look at Hindi, Hindi has 4 different like contrasts. Korean has 3, right? But Hindi has 4. So it's even harder for somebody like English speaker to actually understand that, because how are you going to map that? You're going to map all the different Ks to just one K, or the different Gs to just one G. So how do we describe the pronunciation? Well, we can do it in 3 ways. One is perceptual, so what it sounds like. So for example, you can say this sounds like B, or it doesn't sound like B. Or we can categorize it like I just showed you, right? So we have certain categories in Korean, and then we categorize it into English. We can also do acoustic, right? So sound wave. We are gonna look at some sound waves today. So how physical properties of the sound can tell us what it is, if it's correct or if it's not. And then it's articulatory, so we can use different tools, for example, MRI, to see how tongue, lips, vocal folds, and everything like you have up here is moving, right? So usually all of this, we, of course, for us, probably the first one is the easiest, because we are just normal people that has no tools or other stuff. After today, we are going to be able to do the second one. And the last one maybe in the future, not now, probably. So first thing first, phonetics versus phonology. So we have unsohak and unron. So what it is, probably it's, maybe some of you know, maybe some of you don't. Phonetics is how we make and hear the sound in a speech. So it's more about physical stuff. So how we move our mouth, how we move our tongue, how we move our voice cords, and how we recognize and use the sounds to communicate. So it's more about actual sound, while phonology deals with the rules and patterns in sounds of language, right? So when and why the sound is used. Why, for example, when you have kiek at the end, it's gonna be aspirated sometimes, right? Or it's gonna be lax, or whatever the rules they are, right? And another important concept are phoneme and allophone. This might be the first time you hear about it, maybe not. Phoneme is the smallest sound unit which can alter the meaning of the word. So, for example, in English, it can be B and P. So, bat and pat, right? So this is going to be 2 different meanings. In Korean, it's going to be kang and kang. So it's going to be 2 different meanings, even though the only difference is one sound. And I also added in Polish, which was really hard to find, surprisingly. So it's len, which is linen, and leń, which is a lazy person. So also one sound only. Those are phonemes. But we also have allophones. Allophones is a different way of pronouncing the same sound in the language. So what I mentioned earlier, for example, if we have kiok in Korean, so the K or the K in English, if it's, for example, at the beginning of the word, it might be pronounced differently than if it's in the middle or at the end. For example, it might be pronounced as G in the middle. So those are allophones. So you can see, for example, here in Korean, we have all those, this is a phoneme, so we have kiok, right? But here we have all the allophones, and depending on the environment, this is a bit delving into more details, but in the environment, so for example, if it's at the beginning of the word, it's going to be a bit different than it's between voice sounds. Voice sounds are the ones which have a bit of movement in the wave, right? So this is going to be different. It's going to be more like a G. It's still not AG or whatever like this. It's agi, but it's different than kam, right? It's a different sound, even though it's the same kiok. So we divide our sounds in 2 big groups. One is consonants, and probably you know what that is, I assume. But what they are exactly, we just kind of know. If we look at an alphabet, we can tell which one are consonants and which are vowels. But what exactly are consonants and how they are produced? They are characterized by producing them by closing off the air. So if you ever, probably you never tried it. I tried it, but it's a weird thing. If you put a hand in front of you and try to pronounce k, you are gonna feel the air a bit later, right? At the beginning there's no air because it's blocked, and then you are gonna feel the air. But if you, for example, say ah, you write, it's a very soft air, but you can feel it right away, right? It's a bit different. So those are the things how we classify consonants. We can classify them by the place and by the manner of articulation. And the thing I just said, the obstruction of is a manner of articulation. So how it's obstructed, if it's fully obstructed, if it's not, so how the sound is made. And the place is like you can see here, there's a lot of things here, not all of them are necessary, but place is where the sound is made. So for example, it's more in the back, it's more in the front, it's by the lips. So for example, some sounds are done here, right? So they are bilabial because they are done between lips. Or there are some sounds which are, for example, nasal because the air is going to go through nasal cavity, right? So that's how we can classify consonants. So here it is. We have, sometimes they have different names. So if you see different names, you're like, oh, this lady lied to me. I didn't lie. There are just different names for those. But we have big 6 groups. First one is stops, and we are going to focus on them a lot today because they are really easy to see as a wave, and we can really compare them well, how they work. So stops, airflow is completely blocked for a brief moment, right? So there is no, if you put your hand in front, there is not going to be air for a moment, and then the air is going to go out. They're liquids. Those are the one which tongue is involved. So for example, L, right? L. They're nasals, like I said. Those are the ones that involve nose cavity. So the sound is the air is gonna go through nose. We have affricates. Those are tricky because they're kind of like a combination of stops and fricatives. So I am gonna explain fricatives first. Fricatives are the one that makes sounds, right? So everything that has hissing or like some kind of friction, those are fricatives. Like we said, stops are blocking the air. So affricate is both of those. So for example, tiet in Korean is affricate. That's why it's so difficult to understand how it's pronounced and how it's done, because like it's a combination, so it's even difficult to measure. And final ones are glides, sometimes called semivowels. So for example, w, right? This sound is gonna be a glide. So here we have Korean consonants. Some of the signs might not be recognizable for you because it's IPA, which is used by linguists. But I tried to put at least the basic ones in Hangul. So as you can see, we have 3 nasals, we have multiple bunch of stops, and we can see there's 3-way contrast, right? That means that we have 3 different ways to produce it. So for example, and as it says, you have stops, then you have tense, lax, and aspirated. What it means is that tense is gonna be like real, like the name says, it's gonna be really tense, really short, really sharp. So pang, pang, it's gonna be really short, right? Lax is gonna be kind of loose. You're not gonna like really care about putting much effort in your mouth when you say it. So b, right? And aspirated, there's gonna be a lot of air, and we are gonna see this air in the waveforms later. There's a lot of air, and it's gonna be visible. So that's how it is in Korean. African, like I said, jiit, jiit, sangjiit. Those are the ones. Fricatives, we have 2 in Korean. So there is s and there is tense shit, right? S. And then we have liquid, which is really funny. We were talking about it. There's ryu, but it's technically L and R, and that's why Koreans have problems with pronouncing it, because we don't know what it really is. And actually, you can see in some words, like for example, if you say the word radio in Korean, radio, right? So this is R, more of a R sound. But for example, if you say mal, this is gonna be L. So it's different, and for Koreans, they also have 2 allophones for this sound, but it's still hard to map it into English. And then we have fricative glottal h. Comparing to English, this looks a bit more complicated. But it's actually not that complicated. As you can see, the stops are a bit lower here. We have less stops in English. So that's why when people learn Korean, they have a difficulty of mapping those. Because there's three, there's two. How are we going to map it? Some of them have to be mapped into one, but that's not how it works. And then finally, we have Polish ones. And as you can see, we have a lot of fricatives. We do a lot of sh sounds, like a lot of them. But similar to English, we have only two types of stops. They're usually voiced and unvoiced, but it's some of stuff are similar to English, some of stuff are similar to Korean. Next group is gonna be vowels. So, like I said, consonants, there's exception over. The vowels are the opposite. There's no constriction or closure of vocal tract, so it kind of goes smoothly. So you can see, like here, there's no any closure anywhere, right? No matter how the tongue and everything moves, there's still open track. And we have two types generally of vowels, monophthongs, which are single quality, so like a, o, e, those kind of stuff, and diphthongs, which are, for example, we in Korean, right? The one which are double, kind of like a double, we, wo, wa, this kind of stuff, right? Today, we're going to focus mostly on monophthongs because they're easier to measure. Because if we go into diphthongs, it's going to be a lot of math and a lot of like findings, different stuff. So we're going to focus on monophthongs, but maybe in the future, we can also try the diphthongs. So here we have Korean vowels. And how we characterize vowels is first, we characterize it by movement of the tongue. So the tongue can be in front, the tongue can be in center, and the tongue can be in the back. So if you try to say E, and I'm sorry, I cleaned my hands before, but if you try to put it between your teeth, you can almost touch your tongue if you say E, because it's very in the front, right? But for example, if you say oo, the tongue is going to be very in the back. You can feel it a bit. I'm not going to make you put your fingers into your mouth, but you can kind of feel it where it is, right? But on the other type is how high your tongue is. So for example, if you say E, your mouth is pretty close, so it's pretty high, right? So because we are almost touching the top of your mouth. But for example, if you say ah, it's very low because we are opening our mouth, so it's gonna be very low. And that's how we characterize it. And all the languages, no matter what language you speak, no matter what language you learn, all of them are gonna have this kind of schema, which you can actually make yourself, and we're gonna do it. This is English. English is a bit more complicated. It has more vowels, and the vowels are super difficult, and on the top of it, you have different accents. And actually, American English and British English, they have not different vowels, but in different words, there might be different vowels, right? I'm sorry, I had to put this meme. It was just too funny. I know. It was just too funny. But English, it kind of is. What's the problem with English is that we have two types of languages. There are transparent languages and opaque languages. And the problem is that English is very, very opaque. You don't have idea. Like, you look at the word and you have no idea how to read it most of the time. And that's the problem, especially with vowels. Because a lot of times when we study, we focus on like th sound or s sound, because those are the difficulties. That's what we think it's difficult. And it is. I'm not saying it's not. But we don't put a lot of focus on vowels, but those are really difficult to actually nail. And what I realized through this class, which I took, that my vowels in English suck, and that's my problem.
Everyone does.
I know.
So the biggest difference between English dialects is vowels.
Exactly. And that's the problem, especially with schwa, which is not stress, and we shouldn't be too. Especially with schwa, most of the people have no idea how to pronounce it, because schwa also changes a lot in different words. Polish vowels, they look pretty simple, but this is not the whole plot, because we have the basic ones like a, e, o, u, that's how we pronounce it. But we also have something like on. And it becomes a problem because there's also OM, OM. And O and OM are pretty similar, but one is vowel and consonant, and one is vowel. So it becomes like a whole mess. That's why Polish is pretty difficult to learn. I don't know how I did it. But this is basically how it is. And now we're going to go into short introduction to Praat. And Praat is free open source software. And this is a standard for linguistics. You might have been shocked when you install it because the website looks like it's from the 70s or something. And it looks very old, but pretty much all the research, if you ever go into like Google Scholar and search for any kind of linguistics research, this is going to be a software they use pretty much all the time. Of course, not only this. For example, they are going to measure it in Praat and then put it into Python or R or Excel if they are really basic. But this is like the basis of linguistics research. And here I put some of the shortcuts that we are going to use today. They are very useful. I'm going to show you how to do it later on. Because we first need to understand some basic before we go into Praat. This stuff you can see in the Praat. And what are the main concepts? There's wave and waveform, spectrum and spectrogram. Wave generally represents frequency. So we can have simple wave, like sinusoidal wave, which is like this, right? I don't have a picture here, but you can imagine. And this is going to be just one frequency, which is repeating. It's like this, it's one cycle. And this is one frequency, 1 hertz. But sound generally is not simple wave. This is multiple different frequencies that are put into more complex waves. So when we can see the fluctuation, it's done by exactly what I was saying earlier, the construction of the air. And that's how it's pronounced because it creates the pressure. And we can see it here that we can have multiple frequencies because it's a complex wave. And when we look at the wave, it tells us some things. I will show you what it tells us later. But we usually have different ways to kind of see more about it. So first thing is spectrum. So spectrum, we have word design here, which I know is an English word, but this one is in the Korean case. Design word. And we take it over a period of time. So for example, jit, a, E, and we get like a smaller waves, right? So those are the spectrums. And when we put them together, we get the spectrogram. So we kind of get this and move it like this and kind of squish it. That's the best explanation I can give probably. And that's what we are getting, right? So that's kind of like the movement goes like this. And this is like a fingerprint of the voice. And you would be right now if I ask you, where's the vowel? I know there's one person that might be able to tell me where's the vowel because she said linguistics, but probably most of you will be like, this is just a bunch of ants, and I have no idea where it is. But you can actually tell where the vowel is in this picture. So the first thing we are gonna talk about, which we are gonna measure, it's pretty simple. It's called voice onset time, VOT in short. It's a small delay between starting to say a word and actually producing the sound and when the voice begins. So imagine that you have a car, like a toy car, not the normal car, and you push it. Between your movement and pushing it, and when it starts moving, there's a bit of a delay. That's exactly the same concept as here, right? And this is used for stops. So for what I show you earlier, all the kyuk or K in English, all of those can be measured. You can measure the voice onset time of it, right? So this is a very basic and very important. And this can be used in a lot of things. When you, for example, do a voice recognition, you can measure the VOT, and based on that, you can kind of categorize what kind of consonant it's gonna be. So it's very useful in a lot of fields. And we can mainly have 3 types of VOTs. 0 VOT, so there is no difference. It just voicing starts, like vocal call starts exactly when the voicing sounds, right? Positive VOT, So delay between the release and the onset is positive, and the negative, that means that it starts before. But there is one thing that I have to mention. There is a bit of difference when you do a calculation or you measure the beginning consonants. So for example, in the word, I don't know, disco is not a good idea. Kabang, like a bag in Korean, like. So in the word kabang, when you measure the K, it's gonna be a bit different measurement, and you are gonna get a bit different values than if, for example, you measure appa, you measure pa in the inside, like the piep sound, right? It's gonna be a bit different. So generally, in the stop productions, we have voiceless voice stops, and here we have flags, aspirated, and tense stops. So we can measure the length of those stops, and based on that, decide which category they are in. So for example, here we have example of piep, beep, and sanbiep. So the first one is kind of like a middle value, right? It's 55 seconds. This is the lax. So this is beep. The second one, this is aspirated. Because it has air, it kind of, like, what I like to think about is that it starts with a kind of like lax, but it adds the air. That's why it's longer. And the tense is the shortest. Of course, it might differ a bit with different languages. This is example for Korean. But generally, it's the same idea. If they have lax, aspirated, and tense, this is going to be the similar idea. And to measure it, we measure two values, like you can see. The first thing we start is the burst. And the burst is the first kind of like jump of the sound of any movement that you can see when the energy kind of starts. Usually you can see like a peak, like here, but sometimes when the sound is not a good quality, it might be hard to find it. So you can also look at the spectrogram, and you can see that the energy changes. The first part is kind of lighter, and the second part is kind of darker. And you can see that the point when it changes, that's going to be when the burst is. And the second part we are finding is onset of voicing. And what it is that after the period of VOT is very irregular. It's very aperiodic. It's like just a bunch of little waves that make no sense. And the moment when the periodicity starts, so when there is like a repeating pattern, that's when we set the onset of voicing. It's sometimes difficult to put it exact. I'm also not an expert at this, but we're going to try it. But generally, that's how it's done. And now we are going to open Praat. And I'm going to share with you some recordings. Where can I share it in Discord?
The Saturday Hangouts channel. So there you go.
Here? Oh, okay. So where we open the Praat, we have two windows. This window is not necessary for us, so we're going to close it. So we get the Praat object window. We can open the file, and what we're going to start with, we have ba pa pa, right? So we are going to start with this file. We're going to upload it into the Praat. And what we need to do is we need to annotate it. So we click annotate to text grid. And we don't need a point here. And here we can just do ba, pa, pa. We apply it. So now we have sound and text grid. We select both of them and we click view and edit. And now we can see it. And what we do first, we can, for example, select this one. Control N, we zoom into it. We can, I don't know if you're gonna hear it. Probably not. It's connected to apps and digital. I don't know what it is. But we can listen to it if we were able to. This is gonna be ba sound. And here, you can see, if we zoom in here, there's a lot of irregular movement at the beginning. It doesn't make a lot of sense. It's a bit messy. It doesn't like show us a lot. But we can see clearly that this is where it starts, right? So here we're gonna mark the burst. And we mark the burst on the yellow part. That's the text grid. That's the start of the voicing. Voice onset time, I'm sorry. Then we can go back and we look here, where does the repetition start? And I would argue it's gonna be somewhere here, probably. And that's when I would probably do the onset of voicing, right? And I don't know why the voice here doesn't work right now. But if you listen to it, you could tell if there's beginning of the sound or if there's not. So you can move it based on that. So now we will say this is ba. Ba. Right? And this is, and we measure it, and it's 0.37 seconds, so it's 37 milliseconds. So it kind of agrees with what we said before about lags. It's kind of in the middle. It can be around 50, it can be around 40. It kind of oscillates between those values. Now if we look at the second sound, here we have pa, so it's with the aspirated one. Here you can see it's much longer, this period. So if we select it and we zoom into it, here we can also see clearly where the energy starts, especially in the spectrogram. You can see that there's like a white part and then it gets darker. So that's when the burst is gonna be. So if we zoom into it again, probably somewhere here. And then we look into this part again. And here, it's kind of hard to say. It could be either this part or this part when we start the voicing. I would say probably here. That will be the start of voicing. And you can see this is much longer than the first one. That's because it's aspirated. So there's air that's gonna elongate this sound, right? So here, if we look at this, it's gonna be 0.99, so 99 milliseconds. So it's much longer. So we can tell by that this is already aspirated. Then the last one, we're gonna see, sorry, not. Here, it's really hard to actually see it because it's very, very short. Here it's hard. I would say that's the burst, probably. That would be my guess. And then the periodicity is pretty easy to see. It's gonna be here. That's when the periodicity of the wave starts. So this is very short. This is super short. Like you can almost know, you almost don't see it when you look at this. So when we zoom into it, one second. This is like 0.07, so that's just 7 milliseconds. It's super short. So right now we can see, when we compare those three, that the first one is lax, the second one is aspirated, and the last one is tense. And you can, when you do it on the initial position, that's how you always measure it. It's really simple. It's not very complicated. The problem starts when you want to do it in the middle. For example, in the word like appa. That's when the problem starts, because you can get negative VOT, you can get positive VOT, you can get zero VOT, and that's when it gets messy. But when the word initial, it's really easy. Here we have only syllables. But for example, if I try to open, for example, this is Polish for women, kobieta. We can, again, annotate it to the text grid. There's only one sound. Oh, not Korean. We select it. It's pretty long sound, even though it looks like a long sound. It's not. So here, what do we see? We see where the burst is, because we see clearly the energy when it's starting. So if we zoom in, this is probably where the burst is gonna be. The first kind of start of the wave. And then we have like pretty long period of various waves, aperiodical waves. And probably around somewhere around here, it's gonna start to become periodic again. So here we can see the periodicity. Probably, it's hard to say if it's gonna be here or here. I would probably check it here. So that's gonna be pretty long. That's 0.65. That's pretty long. And that's the first consonant, k, kobieta, k. And then, what's interesting, the repeating pattern is a vowel, because usually we have consonant, vowel, or some kind of combination of that. So the second one is a vowel, and you can see it's very repeating and very open. It's completely different from the first sound. And what you can also see in the spectrogram, the black lines that we can see here, this also indicates the vowels. Those are the formants, and we are gonna do it in the second. So you can do it in any language. If later on, if we have some time and we want to try, you can record yourself and, for example, compare how your values compare with native speakers. So because the sounds I chose, they are native speakers, so you can actually see how it works. This was pretty simple and nothing too exciting, but I think maybe what we do right now is going to be a bit more exciting, because we're going to go into vowels. So with the vowels, there's a lot of stuff. There's something called formants, and we have multiple formants. There's F1, F2, F3, F4, but what we focus mostly is F1 and F2, because F0 is fundamental frequency. So it's the basic pitch of your voice. So the way you speak, there's going to be F0. However, then we have two different formants. The first formant is F1, and this indicates what, like I showed you the plot earlier of the vowels. This indicates how low or how high your tongue is. This measurement, you can actually tell how high or how low it is. F2, on the other hand, it shows you if it's closer to your mouth or if it's closer to your back. So all those values can actually tell you that, and you can plot them yourself. So here we can see the spectrum. F1 is the first peak. F2 is the second peak. The third peak is F3. We are not focusing on it right now. We're focusing only on F1 and F2. And this is the plot. So here you have low F1, high F1, high F2, low F2. And that's how you map them. So for example, here again, you can see this is going to be F1 and this is going to be F2. This picture is kind of messy, so I'm going to show you on the better picture. So, if we go into Praat again, and we open, for example, this is some of the Korean vowels. We again do the same thing that we did with consonants. We do the text grid, the cliff, view, edit, and we have 3 of them. And as you can see here, there are those little dots. Those are the formants. So the Praat already automatically helps us understanding where they are, because you can see them kind of in the black, but they are very squished. So sometimes it's hard to tell. But here you can see where they are. And what we can do right now, this is easy because this is not in the word. So we don't have to search for it. We already know this is a vowel. So we can just pick up the point. For example, I would say somewhere here. And we go into formants and we can get the first formant. And it already tells us what's the value. Usually for the easier calculation, I just choose the first 3 we are kind of rounding into the value that is at the beginning. And then you do the same for the second formant. Second formant usually is going to be much higher than the first. If it's not, there might be some issue with what you've done, maybe the recording or something. And this way, what you can do, I'm going to show you. How many of you know Python, like a language? You know. Okay. So we can actually use Excel, but I thought probably not a lot of people have Excel these days. And I didn't want to go into different type of Open Office Calc and Google Sheets because it's getting messy. So I created a small program in Python. What it does is that we are going to use PyPlot to plot the actual vowels. So the measurement I show you, you put the vowels here. So for example, in here, in the Praat, the first sound was, if I remember correctly, ah, right. So this is ah. So we are getting the two values. So the first formant was 849. The second formant was 1275. So we are putting the ah. It doesn't input Hangul, but you can put the English equivalent. You can put the first formant, 879, I think it was. 120, I don't remember the second one, I already forgot. 1275. Right? So we put those two. Then this is gonna create the scatter plot in the size 8x6. And we put what we need. So we need F2, FF1. What's important, we put F2 first and then F1 second. Because that's how we need the plot to show, so it shows exactly how I showed you the plots earlier. I choose the color red. You can choose whatever color you want. And the marker is just a circle. Then it's gonna use a loop to put the points on the plot and put the symbols over them, so we know which one is which. And then we put the labels on the axis, so we know which one is F2, which one is F1. We need to invert them to make them exactly the same as the example. Then we set axis limits. And here I put 3,500, 1,200, but sometimes depending, for example, girls usually will have higher values and guys will have lower values. Not always, but that's general like rule. So for example, if you have a really high pitch voice, you might have to put a bit higher values here. If you have a low pitch voice, you can lower it a bit. I originally put 2.5, like 2,500, but then I was like, okay, that might not work when I tried it actually. And then you display the plot. And when I just put one of those, let's actually delete the other ones for now. And when we run it, you can see where it shows. And it's pretty much accurate. And you can do it with all the vowels. So what you can do, you can either use the recording I gave you. This recording has only 3 vowels. I think it says A, E, and E in Korean. But you can do the same with your recording. You can try to record, for example, all Korean vowels, because Korean vowels are easier to record. English is gonna get messy. So you can record all Korean vowels, and it's gonna give you the full plot and how you can use it. Basically, you can compare it with a native speaker. For example, we can get a native speaker here that will record all the vowels. You can record yourself your vowels, and you can compare if the space is similar. You don't need to worry too much, because I mentioned it before the class, the vowel space changed a lot for the years. So for example, older generation had a bit different vowel space than the younger generation now. But if they are in semi-similar spots, that's gonna be already great. That's gonna be already pretty working. If you don't want to do it just on like because sometimes it might not record well, you can record the whole word. And if you want to read from the whole word, you again click read from file. Let's choose the book. We're gonna annotate it. Choose it, view and edit, and here's the word book. All right, and we can again see where the vowel is. It's again the darker part, right? The really dark lines. So here's gonna be the burst. So around probably periodicity starts around here. So this is where the vowel is gonna be. We usually don't want to measure formants at the beginning, because a lot of times in the words, like for example, like the word book, the B sound might affect the vowel a bit before you say it, right? And especially you can see it a lot in English, that the consonants are gonna affect the vowels. So usually you try to kind of figure out like a good middle spot, and then you do exactly the same thing. You get the first formant, then you get the second formant, and you just input it the same. And you can do this one is in English, so that you can do like two different plots, one for Korean or for English, and you can see how it works. And it's really simple, and it just shows you exactly where you are. So for example, a lot of people has, like a lot of second language speakers for Korean, has problem with differentiating between O and O. It's for most of people it's the same sound, like there is no difference, but actually there is difference in the plot, like I showed you before, the plot here. Where's the plot? This is the plot. This is the low O, the more rounded one, and this is the higher O. So you can see that this one is more, the first one is more rounded, more closed. The second one is more open, less rounded. And you can actually measure that. And for example, for me, when I measured that, they were still pretty close. I think right now I'm getting better at it, but at the beginning they were very close to each other. And this can give you indication, okay, I need to work on it a bit more. And with you comparative native speakers, you can actually get closer to what it's supposed to sound like. So it's really good exercise, even if you don't work with linguistics, it's still pretty good exercise to actually improve your pronunciation. And not only for Korean, it's the same with English. You can plot all your values, and for example, let's say we have, I don't know, O and O also, like kind of one is O, one is O, whatever, and you can plot those, and you can see where they are in your plot and compare them to native speakers. And you can see which way you have to move, because those are frequencies. So you just have to, for example, move a bit higher, move your tongue a bit higher, move your tongue a bit more back, and that's the way you can actually improve your language pronunciation, by doing this exercise. So I don't know, any questions here? Anything you're curious about?
So,
Oh yeah, here was.
so when you were using the software, it was
Yeah.
too fast to actually learn how to use it.
Yeah.
Do all that stuff. Or did you
We are gonna do like an exercise right now. I was just showing generally how it works, but I'm thinking about we can record. I don't know if the recording is gonna work well, because we don't have a proper mic, so it might be a bit messy. But I'm gonna show you step by step how to record your own sound and how to actually do it. Yeah.
So does formant roughly correlate to pitch then?
Yeah, it correlates to pitch, and it correlates to the placement of your tongue.
Okay.
High, low, and back, forward.
So it's a combination of those.
Sort of.
Okay, because pitch you can
Because
do
formants are multiple things. Because there's multiple formants. So generally formants, it's a pitch thing. But for example, F1 formant and F2 formant are regarding tongue. F3 formant, which we are not talking about, is regarding roundness. So from the F3, you can say if it's rounded vowel or not rounded vowel, like O and A, right? So there's different things. Generally, it's a pitch thing, but with F1 and F2, it's also a tongue thing.
Okay. Yeah, because pitch can be just throat too.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a combination.
And any other questions?
Phrase, right? Or in
Praat.
to record our voice.
Yeah.
And upload to see how different to tweak our pronunciation.
That's what I did. Like, I started this class, and like my Korean is still not perfect, but it's decent for a foreigner living here, I guess. And at first I took this class because I had to take some Korean Korean studies class, right? Because I was in the linguistics. And this helped me a lot with improving, especially with my vowels, because I didn't see a difference a lot of time. Because it's hard. It's the same with English. Like, I sometimes don't see a difference between some sounds. Like, and like, I don't know. Like, you use some software. Like, there's some software right now, like something from Elise, I think. Elise. There's like a software which you can speak to it and it tells you what the mistakes you did, but it doesn't really explain how you can improve it. And this literally tells you what you have to do. You have to move a bit more forward, move a bit more back. So, for example, if I say E. Okay, I'm too much in the back. So if I want, of course, E is not the sound usually that makes it the issue. But as an example, if I say it wrong, or if I say which is really in the back, okay, that sounded weird. I say it in the Praat, so I can move forward and I can do E, and it sounds already better. So I think most of people don't use it because they don't know it, because it's strictly linguistic. But I think it can be really, really, really useful if you actually want to improve pronunciation, because you can physically see where the issue lands.
For sure. As we can know, you can see the product is very powerful, but usually you need to recording and upload and see the progress, how it's going. To compare the points, right? So does it have a advanced feature like we can use our microphone to speak and it will show your points?
Later, Praat is actually very advanced. Like, I didn't go into more details because it's already a bit more complicated, but you can actually do scripting in Praat. So there's scripting language in Praat. You can find code online, and you can use it to automatically detect certain stuff. Or you can, for example, use Praat and then move the stuff to R or Python. That will help you actually analyze certain things. So, for example, if you put longer text, you can analyze the speed, or you can analyze if you are moving at the same speed all the time, or if you are going faster or slower, because that's also indication of if you're closer to native speaker or not. So you can do all of this in Praat. Praat is very powerful. It's hard to learn at first because it's very simple interface and it's kind of like, where am I supposed to do it? But once you get into it, it's very easy. And what I think is the best thing, like you said, you need to record it and all those stuff. It's a lot of work. But I think the best thing is you do it at the beginning of your learning. You record, you see where the issues are, you practice them, and then you, for example, after a month, you check if you improved. Because you don't need to do it every week, because probably there's not going to be much difference. Especially because one thing I forgot to mention is that formants can be a bit different for everybody. It can be based on gender, it can be based on age, it can be based on the way you speak. So, for example, just because my formants are a bit, for example, lower or higher because I speak higher words, doesn't mean they are necessarily wrong. As long as they are kind of in the similar place, that's what matters. But exactly the same values, nobody's going to like, even if we all record it here, probably nobody's going to have the same values. Even if we were all like native Korean speakers or all Korean or all English speakers. So that's the thing. Yeah.
Only so I'm trying to figure out how can I learn fast
Korean
and how to pick my accents.
Yeah.
So I think this is to know how can I improve Korean in
yeah. If you want to, like, because it's hard to find recording, there's this one dude on SoundCloud actually, which is kind of funny to me. And he has all the recordings of like, wait a second. He has all the recordings of like syllables and different words and longer texts. He's called BM Multilingual, and you can actually look like, especially the Korean speech sound, and he has body parts, but Korean speech sound, it's very useful. You can actually download it and then compare it to yours. You don't necessarily need to plot it every time, because that can take a lot of time moving it, doing all this stuff. But you can actually just compare it because you can put two windows next to each other. You don't have to work only on one window. You can, for example, open this one, and then you want to open, I don't know, this one next to it. You can do multiple at the same time, so you can see where the differences are, right? So I think what we can do now, we can try doing the recordings, and I will show you step by step, and we're going to do it slowly, and I will give you time to record. If you don't have a mic, it might be a bit harder because it might not show well, but it still should be pretty decent. So what we do, we click new, and we click record mono sound. Mono is going to be a bit better because it's going to have less movement probably when we are trying to analyze it. Sampling frequency, honestly, I never know what to choose. I just go around what it recommends me. We can do, for example, O, not this O, E, right? And then you click record, and when you click record, it's going to start recording, so you can right away start saying. So, for example, I'm going to be A, O, E. I'm going to stop and save to list. Then you just close it, and you already have it here. And then you do the same thing that I did before. You click annotate to text grid. And the tier names you can do A, O, E. You apply. You have both of those. You have to select both. And you view and edit. Not too bad. When I did it at home, it was complete mess. But here I can see it's looking pretty good. Sometimes you might have to, if you have like really high voice or if you speak really loudly, you might have to move a bit. Where's the setting? You might have to move a bit the format setting. Maybe I will do 6,000. No, the 5,000 look better. Okay, we are just gonna leave it like this. And here we moved on to the first one. This one was A. So we can close on this. You can see the formats here. They're kind of overlapping for me. There's not a big difference. So again, we go into formats. We get the first format. Pretty high. That's pretty high. Okay. And I didn't share this one, right? I'm gonna share it on the Discord. So you can open Jupyter and you can just copy paste it.
If you need help setting up a Python environment, let me know.
When you're semi-done with like copying the code, you can let me know so we can progress further. I think I'm gonna get a bit of water.
Yeah.
Because I'm dry. Not familiar with Python, and you still want to do something like this, what you can do in Excel, you can just put one column that is titled vowels and put all the vowels, like here the vowel part. You can put column F1, all the values, F2, all the values, and then you select it and you do scatter plot. And it's gonna do pretty much the same thing, you just have to invert some stuff. it's pretty much simple, but it's a bit more work. That's why I decided to go with Python, because you just literally put the values in and you click run and it's done. Yes.
So, but you should do that in a virtual environment. If you don't know how to set up a virtual environment, let me know. Are you doing an online? I forgot what the tier names thing.
You can just put the vowels you said, or you can just put the word vowel, because it makes different like levels of the comments sort of thing under. Like if you look here, I put 3 tiers, and there's tier A, there's tier O, and there's tier E. But you can just put vowels and put everything on the one tier.
Oh, okay.
So for example, yeah, let me show it from, because no, because this is actually confusing a bit. Let me delete and remove. When we put annotate to text grid, you can put in this is gonna put 3 tier list sort of thing. But if you put just vowels, you can put just vowels. And then if you go into the view and edit, it's gonna be just one, and you can just put everything on one. It depends what you prefer. Yeah, that's okay. You don't need to install it, because usually the linguists, they are gonna use IPA to actually annotate it. So they're not gonna use O like we use. They're gonna use like IPA like characters. But I don't think we need to dwell that far into it, because just learning the IPA alphabet takes some time. So we're just gonna use the simple alphabet letters. So it's not gonna be necessary for that. False advertising. Okay, it works. So again, like if you have the recordings, if you don't want to do the recordings, you don't have to. You can try it at home. It might be embarrassing to say the stuff. So, but if you have recordings, zoom in into the first one. Like I said before, you select the part and you click Control N, and it's gonna zoom automatically to your selection. And here you can see the dots. Kind of try to choose the middle, but not too far. So you choose this. You go into formats. You can also turn them off for a moment so you can see it without it, but usually just show formats. And then you go again here, get the first format F1. and that's gonna be the value you're gonna put into the code. That's gonna be right? Sometimes it might be a bit different. It's gonna be different in different spots, right? But it's not gonna be like drastically different. It's not gonna be like 800 and 2000. It's gonna be just a few points difference, right? We do the same. The best thing is to do the same spot for the F2. So the same spot gets second format, and you copy the value, and again you put it in F2. And we do it for all of those. I don't remember, I said A, O, O, right? So it's gonna be the normal O and the E. I did E, I think.
Oh, what?
If you're curious, the blue line is the pitch, but sometimes the Praat gets it wrong, so don't get really excited about it. But the blue line is general pitch of the sound you did.
Nope. That doesn't know.
Yeah. It doesn't. You have to write it in English letters, unfortunately. Yeah, that's lame. I also tried it because I was writing this code yesterday, and I also tried it because it's better to write it in Hangul if you do it for Korean.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, it does not work, so we have to use English.
It's not possible to override the font. It seems like it's a font issue, right?
Well, yeah, but you'd have to teach matplotlib how to UTF-8.
Yeah,
Why can't it UTF-8?
that's a good question. That's a very good question.
It's pretty hard.
You'll figure it out. Submit a PR.
Actually, seriously.
Go submit a PR. Hey, my stuff is way out there.
Maybe the quality of the sound. Oh, okay. E O R. Yeah, it's. Did you? Yeah, it's inverted. But I think I's still pretty close.
Oh, I also labeled one of them wrong. Huh?
I think the I's pretty close,
Okay.
so that's good.
So is there any online reference for like? So you mentioned like F1, F2. There are certain bands of what's considered kind of like
Yeah.
to be correct.
Yeah.
Is there any kind of online reference of correct bands for different?
I tried to search for something, but it's really hard to find it. But usually, maybe if you search for some research papers, they should put approximate reference for it. But like I said, it's different for different groups. Like, for example, if children, women, whatever, like different age groups, it's gonna be a bit different. But generally, you just look like at the vowel plot, and if it's semi-similar, that's good enough.
Okay.
Usually. So for me, for those three, my O is like, wow. Where did the A go?
Did I need Korean to Korean sounds? Wait, we only have one. No, we have two. Three. Yeah, we get you. Did any of you guys report?
Who's the third one?
One, two, three. Your question. Did any of you guys do a reporting?
Oh, wait, later, probably.
No, I think it looks pretty correct. The A should be a bit lower, probably. I mean, those are mine, so also don't get. That might be also wrong. Like if you want to compare to actual proper plot, this is the reference, right? So that's English. So that's the O I did was this whole. The A is here, so it should be at the bottom, and the E is front high. So that's how kind of should look.
My O is way off. Okay.
That might be the case. That's all, like that was me at the beginning. Like my O was somewhere in the mountains, and I don't know where it was.
Okay, so this directly maps to this.
Yeah, that's literally how they did this plot. That's how they did this plot. So that's what you can do. Like here, the red ones are the Korean ones. The one circle in red. So if you put all of them, so we do this is O, the weird like carrot sign. This is O, U, E, and E. The thing is, we can do all of them. That was my plan originally, so we can actually compare the plot. The thing is, you might wonder why the Te and Te are together. That's because in the old Korean, there used to be a bit of difference. So when you hear old Korean speakers, there is actually a difference between their a bit. But modern Korean, it pretty much turned into one. There will still be people that will try to tell you it's a different sound. Don't trust them. It's not. In modern Korean, it's the same sound. So that's what I've heard too, but that's how it used to be. But when you, like, there was a research done, what I mentioned before, but maybe other people didn't hear. There was a research done between two different groups. There was people, older Koreans in their 80s and 90s, or 70s and 80s, and there was younger Koreans, so people in their 20s. And they compared their vowel plots. They did exactly what we did right now. So they sat them down, they told them to record the vowels, and they, of course, they did it on the bigger like scale because they need bigger population. And you can see that old Koreans have a bit different, not only like even those are a bit moved, but especially there is a difference. But with younger Koreans, no difference. It's literally almost the same. Like it might be maybe like this or like this, but it's not significant enough to say it's a different sound currently. There might be still people that pronounce it differently. Like, of course, maybe if they have like a grandma that was really strict with dance, pronouncing differently. But generally, it's not a big difference in modern Korean. Yeah. That's true, but I think generally the language has tendency to evolve, and we see it not only in Korean but like in a lot of different languages. Like Korean used to have z sound, yeah, which is really interesting. It used to have similar sound to z, but it also disappeared. And right now, usually when you see English words with z written in Korean, it makes no sense. But it actually used to have this sound. So there is a lot of they adapt and they change and evolve, and a lot of times with modern culture and influence also from other languages, it can switch a lot.
I also heard that Korean used to have an F.
Something similar. I don't know exactly about it, but I think there was something similar. Generally, Korean was alphabet was a bit more broad, and then they started shrinking it a bit, so it made more sense to Korean language as it is. Because right now in Korean language, most of the words that have f sound or z sound are the loan words. No really Korean sound has f, right? That's why it's a problem for like when you try to write it in Hangul. Like every time I see an English word in Hangul, I'm like 5 minutes reading it because I cannot understand it. That happened on me on the one exam. There was a text about Remon. It took me 5 minutes to guess what the hell Remon is. So that's usually a problem, but especially with F sound and with V sound, that's also common because it's written as Piep, so it becomes B, and it's like, what do you mean? And also the Z sound.
So it's really surprising because like the F and B, it's just the action of touching your teeth to your lips. And that's a pretty simple sound to make.
Yeah.
And I'm really surprised that there's just no phoneme for that in Korean. Korean.
Because Korean doesn't really use it.
Yeah, well, but I don't know why. Like, why do they just never use that sound?
Why don't we use click consonants? Well, those are hard. But...
That's a good question too.
Korean alphabet is like a vocab.
Right.
So we combine with different vowel. Just pronounce like this.
Yeah, but we were just saying they used to have a
They used to have.
for that sound.
Yeah.
We were talking about the consonants.
Yeah.
I think it might, I'm not sure, that's my speculation, but I think it might have to do a lot with the history of Korea. When they started, like they had influence from Chinese language, then there were missionaries that could have put influence on other like consonants and new sounds. So those might be the reasons why certain sounds changed. Not for 100%. There's probably some research about it, but it's really interesting, especially because in Korean we have 시읒 and 상시읒, right? Which a lot of languages doesn't have the difference between. It only has the s, right? Actually, English s is more similar to tense 상시읒, which is interesting. So they have two different s sounds, but then they don't have z sound, for example, which is used a lot in different languages. So it's really, really, really interesting, but I'm sure there is a reason for that.
But if they had those consonants, presumably they had words that use those consonants.
But it's like Old English. You know, like how many, like of course you use a bunch of Old English right now because it moves, but there's a bunch of Old English that you are never gonna use anymore. And it's the same with Polish, like we also have some, I mean, Polish still have a lot of useless. Yeah, we have a lot of letters which are completely useless. I don't know why we have them.
Okay.
But that's the thing. Yeah.
So I was just reading some stuff real quick. Apparently F is a lot harder to pronounce than I thought it was.
I think it is.
Only about 40% of languages have an F sound. I did not know that.
I think generally fricatives are pretty difficult, I would say. And affricates, the tiet and diet, the difference, I'm going to answer the difference. It was not false advertising. The tiet and sanctiet is again the lax, the aspirated, and the tense. It's the same idea as in stops. Usually we don't measure VOT for those. We can try. You can I actually have the recording. I can show you how it looks.
Maybe we can also have a native Korean speaker come pronounce on your.
Yeah. That also works. But this is also wait, annotate. Yeah. So this is native Korean speaker.
Oh, it is.
Yeah. I took everything from natives because I was like, I'm not doing it on my own. I'm not gonna embarrass myself. So you can see, this is Chit. So you can see it's a bit shorter, the VOT. Usually we don't measure it in affricates. Sometimes people do because it's between stop and fricative. So there is a lot of debate about that, if we should measure it or not. But you can still see that there is like a shorter VOT. Then we have Chit. So ja, cha. This is the aspirated one. So there's air. So what you do, you put a bit more like into the sound, right? So the first one doesn't have the breath, but the second one does. So that's pretty much the biggest difference between those two. So for example, I don't know, if you say jamon, like the grapefruit, it doesn't have the what is that?
Okay, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
If you have like jamon, you don't have.
Don't worry.
Okay, it's falling out. Apart. You don't have the aspiration. You don't have the. You don't have this. But if you say ta, you already you have this kind of breathiness into it going. So that's the. Of course, it's hard to nail it. I still like, maybe if I speak really fast and I'm a bit drunk, maybe I can nail it. But usually if I speak on the daily basis, I still sometimes confuse it. So though I found this easier than Shiet and Sangxiet. Shiet and Sangxiet is completely black magic for me.
So but if I look at Jiet and Sangjiet,
yeah,
they look quite similar.
They look quite similar, but this one is a bit shorter.
Oh.
This is gonna be the burst, and this is gonna be probably here, the beginning. It's gonna be similar. Sometimes it's similar, but generally this one is supposed to. Wait, let me actually maybe here, maybe here. This one is 0.54, so 54 milliseconds. And this one, that's gonna maybe be the burst. Periodicity maybe around here. That's a bit longer. It's still a bit longer, but that's why we don't measure VOT with Africans, because it's not exactly the same rules, because there is the friction. There is the friction which differentiates them from the stops. That's why. But we can differentiate them by the aspiration, and we can say that the tense one are a bit shorter than the lax one.
Okay.
That's how we pretty much can explain it.
Is there a way you can kind of measure aspiration with this?
You can see this. Wait, where is the aspiration? You can look here, and the period of aspiration is kind of the loss of energy. Here's a lot of energy, and then there's the loss of energy sort of thing. And that's how we can see the aspiration.
Yeah, okay, I can see it between the energy. Okay.
It's hard to nail it. It's really hard to nail it, but I think the biggest difference, like any song, kiuk, it's very, very short and kind of like a punchy thing, right? You can you just punch with the sound, while the lags are just just naturally. You try to say naturally. You don't put any tension. That's the thing. The tension is a big factor on this. So you don't put any tension, and the aspirated is just you kind of like a. You almost do like a breath thing, and that's how you. And at the beginning, it sounds super stupid. When you try it for the first time, it can be really, really, really stupid. But the more you practice it, the more natural it becomes.
Are there any sounds that, or did you have other stuff prepared?
No. I wanted to do the exercises for the second part. Yeah. So if anyone who is like a different speaker, any in other language. What do you speak? Mandarin, okay. Indonesian. You can also try, you can come here and record if you want. You can try your own language, and you can also see how, for example, vowels plot, or how I don't know in Mandarin how many consonants you have exactly and how are the differences, but you can also compare it with different, for example, how your Mandarin consonants compared to your Korean ones. And this way you can compare the transfer. There's something called transfer in language. Usually it happens from your first to second, but it can also happen from your second to first if you are using your second a lot. So this happens in different cases, but usually it's first one to second. So your L1 transfers to your L2. And what you can also see on the program is, for example, if you record, for example, in Polish we have ka and ga, right? Yeah, ga. Yeah, okay, that was for a moment I was like, was it? Yeah, so we have, it's similar to English, but not exactly the same. It's maybe a bit harder for the K, I would say. So, for example, I can record ka and ga in Polish, and then I can do the same in English, and then I can try to do it the same in Korean. So I can do ka, 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 right? And then I can compare how different they are, how is their VOT, and if there's any kind of similarities. And I can see that's what causes the issues. That, for example, I pronounce my kiuk too similarly to my Polish ka, right? And this can also help us. And it's the same with vowels. if you have certain vowels in Mandarin, for example, you can record them. You can record your English ones, you can record, I don't know, Polish, Russian, whatever you want to record, and then you can compare and see the differences, how you pronounce it. Sometimes, if, for example, let's say I record Polish vowels, and then I record English vowels, if they're too similar, there might be an issue. Because Polish vowels are not that similar to English vowels. There are some that are the same, but there's a lot that are different. So if they are too similar, that can also be an indication that I'm transferring what I know from my first language to my second language.
Question.
Yeah.
So this chart here,
yeah.
back, high, mid, low.
Yeah.
What do you call this? If we want to like look it up for other languages?
Vowel plot.
Vowel plot.
Yeah, that's what you call, and like you can, for example, or vowel chart also sometimes. Yeah, that also works.
Oh, there we go. Oh.
So we can, like, the problem is a lot of researchers will map it differently. So that's the annoying part. So you can see, for example, this is standard Chinese vowel chart, and it says like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But this one has much more, and I have no idea why, right? I'm not a native speaker, but you can see also here. So, but the charts are just generally the same. They just map vowels sometimes differently. But what's interesting, like if you look at British English and American English, it's gonna be different.
Super different.
The chart is gonna be super different, and it's absolutely crazy. Like British vowel chart, yeah, that's a lot of vowels. But British is gonna be American English. Wait, American English. Yeah, it's not this one.
No,
this one. It's a bit here. The schwa is somewhere here. It's different. It's that's why it's so difficult. I think why English is difficult is that we have a lot of options.
Right.
And like I studied British English in school. Yeah, because that's the standard for Poland because we are Europe. But then I couldn't pronounce stuff in British English at all because for me it was black magic. So I think that's the issue that we have. But we can definitely manage it if we try to like do this. I think we can try if you want. We can try to do all Korean vowels or English. If somebody wants to do English, you can do English. But we can try all Korean vowels and we can try plotting them all so we can see if it's similar to the plot. If you don't have a mic or your laptop there or something, you can try to do it here.
Yeah, we can just do it together here so we can all see the results.
Yeah.
So do you guys want to do English or Korean? All right, raise hands for English. raise hands for Korean.
Okay. Okay.
That was easy.
Okay, so we will do A, O, E. That's gonna be O. Not the O. It's gonna be O.
Now, note, when we record, we are streaming this. So
yeah.
If you don't want to appear online...
You are not going to appear on camera because there's not camera. There's no camera. I mean, it doesn't work. Yeah. If you don't want your voice to be online, then... Did I forget about anything? X gonna be because there is no really...
Or you could do the romanization of it. You do EU.
It always pains my heart. I hate romanization.
Yeah.
But okay, we can do EU. The caret is the open O. O. That's how you usually write it.
O.
O.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in romanization, EO.
Yeah. So that's... Do we have everything? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7. Let's delete this. So we need to record 7 vowels. Anyone? Any brave soldier who wants to start?
Should we do a native first, or should we do... Actually, can we do 2 plots side by side? Or we can overlap. Or overlap or something? Just because I just asked because it might be interesting to compare a foreigner to...
Sure. We can try doing that. I could just copy this code and just do a new one. Wait.
That works.
Yeah, so we can do it side by side. Let's say the left one is native and the right one is gonna be non-native.
Well, should we start with? Are you consulting? We can also use markers to make it clear in the.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
You use what now?
The standard Korean, yeah.
So we could. Do we want to compare Busan and Bujano first?
Oh, we can do that because it's also different.
Do you guys want to try? Yes. Okay. So which one first? Busan. Okay, go for it.
So you can click new, record mono sound. I'm gonna click it for you. You can click record and you can record it here. I'm gonna move from your way. And when you are done, you just click stop and save to list.
Should we name it Busan?
Yeah, we have. Yeah. Let's name it Busan. The vowels A, O, I, O, E, U. All the vowels, yeah. 7.
Yeah. A, O, I, O. Hold on. No, wait, you had E twice.
I do. Where?
A, O, I.
So you can have the hung go there.
That's a good point. Or we can just do a comment.
No.
Yeah, that works. So it's this?
I don't want to get confused. No, you can.
Here, I'm gonna write it in Korean here,
Okay.
so you can look at this. A, O, I, U, E. It's gonna be only one. Or maybe no. Should we try the both? We are not. I have. Okay, there's 6. Sorry, there's 6. No, but there should be 7. Wait a second. What are we? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
You have O?
I do have both O's.
It's the carrot.
Oh.
The carrot is.
Yeah, the carrot is the O. A, O, I, U, E, U.
Oh yeah, you're missing O.
Okay, wait. I, O. Okay, let's do. Let's.
O, I, O.
U, E, U.
Wait. You have 7 on the right and 6 on the left.
No, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
And then on the right you have 7.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right. A, O, I, O. U. Okay. That's U.
Okay.
O. No, carrot is O. Okay, so you can try. Recording. You can click record. If you mess up, you can just try again.
Where's the mic?
Just the button.
Okay.
You have to be pretty loud. But not too loud, so it doesn't.
A, O, I, O, U, E, U.
Okay. Name. Oh, it's okay.
We can rename it.
Okay. This delete.
So do we want to do full now or do we want to block first?
We can do all of them,
Okay.
and then the non-native we can just put names or something, and then we can plot it. I think it's gonna be easier.
So do we want to have Sol now?
Yeah. But you use Pyodino, right?
You have the same thing down here.
A, O, I, O, U, E, U. I hope it was loud enough, but if not, we can just repeat it. Okay. Who wants to go for the non-native now? Okay. Yeah, she wants.
Oh, yes.
It's gonna be interesting because we have a lot of different speakers, so. Is the record? Yeah, you can record. A, O, I, O, E, U. Except for this. Yeah. It probably saves twice. Yeah. Remove. Next.
I'll try.
Yeah. Go for it.
Okay, apparently it doesn't do shortcuts. A, O, I, O, E, U. It's the same on both screens.
Oh, okay.
Do you know how to read Hangul?
Huh?
Because you just said you can.
I can read the alphabet. Oh. A, O, I, O, E, U. Okay.
Like when you was yellow.
Yeah, do it, Jay. I'll just find myself in most training.
Yeah. And the more something you like. There are user scripts automated, but
So where do I have to speak into?
just to the laptop.
Okay.
Yeah.
A, O, I, O, U, E, U.
Save to list. Go first.
Oh, it's recording.
Is it?
Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the YouTube stream. My bad. It's delayed. All right. A, O, I, O, U, E, U.
No, I think. Do you want? Oh no, you did. Sorry, I forgot. Me. Okay. Me. Oh, run away. A, O, I, O, E, U. Okay, so now we need to do text grid to all of this. That's gonna take some time. Let's start with Busan. Actually, what would be easy maybe if somebody input. No, maybe not. Okay, let's start with Busan. Wait. Yeah. Oh, not bad, not bad. It looks pretty good. And here, first format, 8.6. That's for here. And the second format, 1109. Okay, so we did I'm gonna do it a bit lazy way, so we get it faster. 309. Yeah, zoom is more precise, so usually it's preferred to zoom in, but Because we did only vowels, it's not in the word, it should be still okay, because if it was like in the word book or heat or whatever, then it would be a problem, because you need to find the vowel. But here, we don't really need to, so it should be fine. Okay. Okay, that was okay. Okay, we got the plot from the prison one. Let's see. Yeah, the A is pretty high. The A is pretty high, but the rest is pretty much accurate when you look at it. Pretty much everything, the A is higher. Maybe the Pusan thing, I don't know. Probably. But the rest is pretty accurate when you look at it, like at this thing here. It's pretty much the same when you look at it. So it's pretty interesting. I'm gonna do a screenshot of each and I'm gonna spam the Discord. Because maybe somebody wants to look at it this later, so I think that's not a bad idea. And I don't care if you agree with me. Why is it not screenshotting? Oh, here. Probably. Probably, yeah. A bit. Though, maybe if we did both there might be a difference. Maybe you are one of those people that pronounce the differently. That could be the case. But generally, like, just the is higher, but the rest is just like as if you draw the chart, pretty much. Then we can do... How about we do this whole at the end? We do all the non-natives, and then we can compare also whole, and we can see all of this. Okay, so let's do...
I got a question.
Yeah.
Do the people that say that do they know?
Most of the time, no. I had a teacher that was so persistent about it being different. There was no difference. There was no difference. This is the Pusan one. Yeah. I'm gonna send all of them. I'm gonna spam a bit, send all of them. Maybe somebody wants to look at them later. So.
Cool. Are you gonna put them somewhere, like a paste bin or somewhere accessible?
I'm sending them to Discord.
Okay. Yeah.
So.
The data.
He
wants the numbers.
He wants the numbers.
Someone else might nerd out on them.
I'm gonna save them to Notepad first, and then we are gonna agree on some method maybe. So that's gonna be Pusan.
I'm so bad at social media. Actually, you know what? I should do what I should have done a long time ago. More like resources. Anyone want to run social media?
Sure.
Like for real?
Why not?
Awesome.
That was fast. Oh. Okay, we're gonna do Indonesia now. We can already see a difference. This is such a big.
I think you hit bandwidth instead of format.
Really?
I thought so.
Yeah. Ah, okay. It's faster, but I copy at the same time. So, wait, this is not the native. This is not native. Where's the native? Here. Okay. F1. Not a big difference between those two.
I think that I did not use the cursor correctly for my performance definition.
Sometimes it might be also the pitch settings. Sometimes you have to tweak them. I'm not good at tweaking them, to be fair. That's why I didn't mention them, because I never know what to put. But sometimes you have to tweak them a bit because the formats can get messy. Because Praat is smart, but it's not that smart. So it can get some stuff wrong.
It's because I zoomed without clicking.
Ah, okay. What was that? Why did I?
Sure. Yeah. But it's only the vowels.
Actually, Brazilian has a lot of similar like sounds to Polish. Because I have like a Brazilian friend, and like even the sounds are because Portuguese is similar in that sense. Also, they have a lot of fricatives, and I was also surprised about that. But it is a bit similar. We do have surprisingly similar accent, because a lot of. But also for me, because I speak multiple languages, my accents are all over the place at this point. And I don't have typical Polish accent, I would say. In some vowels I do, in some sounds I do, but in some sounds I don't. And I do not do a lot of inflections, so that's also a thing. So it depends. But yeah, we do have a lot of similarities with Portuguese. Also, a lot of people say that our language sometimes sounds like Chinese, which I don't know about, but I guess all this sh makes sense. But I don't know. Oh, my eyes are dying.
Ooh.
Okay, that's all. Okay. And sometimes the graph, if it's too quiet or if it's like the bad mic quality, it sometimes can get a bit messy.
Mine looks much more. My original one. I'm not gonna do it all again. I'm just gonna copy the values that she posted.
Okay, so that's for the Indonesia.
Oh.
So we can see quite a big difference already. Wait. It's okay, it's okay.
Oh, the E and the...
E is very back. Which is surprising. I don't know how it is in Indonesian. Actually, we can actually check.
Oh.
Short. It's still front.
Did we... Is it the right... Did we plot the right value?
I think so. Okay. Yeah. But the O's are pretty close to each other. But the I is correct. The I can be in this spot without a problem. Because, like I said, like girls can have higher pitch. It might move a bit. But it's a bit different. Definitely. We can try the next one. Let me send it. Yeah.
Whoa. What was that? What?
What happened?
I don't know how to do that screenshot stuff in Windows. I'm gonna have to learn that.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mac, sure. That doesn't know idea.
Yeah, I think so. It's a muscle memory at this point, so I don't remember.
Your fingers know, but your brain doesn't. Okay, so it's 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
Do you guys want to finish this out, or should we go get food? No one wants to make a decision?
I vote for nerding out.
Nerding out.
Do you guys want to continue for like 10 more minutes, or do you want to go eat? Oh, excuse me. Do you want to go eat now? Okay, let's
Okay, then let's choose who we want to test. Who is our test subject?
I want to compete against me.
Oh yeah, let's do Soul. We haven't done
Okay,
Soul.
let's do Soul.
Let's do Soul and then something else. I don't know.
Ooh, this is...
Oh, the 7 are there though.
Oh, yeah, but I'm just checking if there's like a... Okay, it should be okay. It already sounds different than the Busan one, right? When you start noticing those stuff, you can I already like see. Wait a minute, this is the non-native. No, this is native. Okay, so we can put it here. Let's zoom a bit. Okay, maybe that was too much. Format. Wait, not here. Here it's a bit messy. Like you can see, the formats are a bit messy because I think it's because you have high pitched voice. So the Praat is like, what's going on? But let's format settings. Let's try 6,000. Oh, much better, much better. Okay, now we can work with it. F1. What are you doing? F2. Then here, maybe around here.
I wonder if that counts as being
She's the expert. She can do the magic.
The first one. Whoa, that's so high. We might have to adjust our graph. Actually, I need to delete the original because I might get confused. Let's adjust the graph. We went above the scale. Maybe around here.
Yeah, this is really nice. We should so she mentioned that app that tells you some of this information but doesn't really give you guidance.
Yeah.
You should make something that gives people guidance and make a lot of money.
That's fair. It is really popular right now. A lot of apps are trying to do that. But what I find difficult, because I also tried them. Like, I was thinking, oh, maybe I can improve, like, maybe my English a bit or Korean or whatever. But the thing is, it just shows you said it wrong. It's more like this. And I'm like,
that doesn't help me.
It's more like, ooh, I just said, ooh, I don't know what more, ooh, what do you want from me, right? So that's the issue. But I think if there was more like, of course they're linguists based. I'm sure they have linguists on spot and stuff like that. But I think if it was more explaining the linguistic characteristic of it, maybe at first people would find it less interesting. But I think with time it would be actually more beneficial.
Yeah. It'd be better for the hardcore.
That's how I started learning other languages. Now I read the linguistics books first, and then I start learning language. Because you can actually realize how the language works, and then you can apply it, rather than just being like, okay, this is not Kim. So I think we have all of them.
Here we go.
Drum roll, please. Oh, the E is very front, but that's really good, actually. E, it's very front. ooh, oh, it's pretty similar, but it's interesting because look at the Busan one we did.
Oh yeah, wow.
It's quite different. It's same shape because it's generally the same shape. It's gonna be the same shape because they are native speakers. But generally, it's like the U and O is a bit closer in Seoul, and that's actually in the research also. There was done the research that Seoul speakers actually pronounce U and O quite closer to each other.
A lot of times I can't tell the difference, and I'm like, why? These are supposed to be totally different.
Yeah, and it actually makes sense because this whole dialect and generally like the Pyeongjuno of Korean, it makes U and O a bit closer to each other, but then the O is a bit further from them. While we can see like in Busan, they're quite similar sort of difference, right? But the E, oh my god, I love the E. I loved it. It's so upfront.
Cool.
It's pretty interesting. Okay, let's screenshot it. Any other language you want to say? Last one. Okay. Let me just copy it and send it to Discord.
Oh, this is so cool. This was such a good idea.
That's good.
Very. Thank you for.
I started this.
Yeah, she was just talking about it.
Whose idea was to present this? Was it yours?
I mean, it was kind of like I started the conversation, and I was like, "This is super interesting. I could show you because we are exactly talking about how to differentiate like Sied and Zied and all this stuff." And I said that there's actually a way to say the difference between those stuff. And then we were like, "Oh, maybe we could do the stuff about it." And at first, I wanted to invite my professor, but he couldn't, so I decided to do it myself.
You did a good job.
Thank you.
I have another weird tangent.
Yeah. Wait, no.
Oh no.
I'm already worried.
I love that sound, but I'm wondering as a linguist, no Korean has told me if it has a name, and I feel like it's just part of the culture and nobody thinks of it having a name. But I'm sure linguists have. Somebody must have written a paper about this sound.
You know what? I'm gonna do research about it, and I'm gonna let you know. Because I don't know. It probably has a sound. I do. I do it myself when I drink. Yeah, but yeah, the Ajisi sound, yeah. Actually, could you record it one more time because it's a bit too low at the end? So it would be good to record it one more time. Let me just remove it from here, and you can like go closer to the laptop, not to this thing. Okay.
Where is the picture?
So in that, yeah, and then scroll up.
Oh, okay. Here you go. A, O, E, O, E, U. Okay. Okay. Rendering. Oh.
Works.
Yeah.
We know what it is. Mandarin. Okay, save the list. Remove new text. Oh,
Beautiful.
Now it's beautiful. I'm actually surprised because when I tried it at home, my sounds were terrible. And here it's pretty good. I don't know why. Maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, that's just a breath. Okay, this is native. We want to know.
A good job on this room, except the power outlets. But it's still not too late. It's a false floor. You can just loop, tread, things. It might cost money. I'll do it for free. Tell Brandon, hey, I want to add outlets. But can you do all the wiring? That? Because you gotta like turn off the power to the circuit breaker unless you want to like kill yourself. I can only daisy chain.
Okay, no. Then we should have a professional do it. Well, just in the room in general.
Or everybody can just get MacBooks with Apple Silicon.
No.
Good for battery life. I mean, ARM is great for battery life, yes.
If I wanted good battery life, I would get the old Nokia.
And it doubles as a weapon too.
Exactly.
Do our Korean folks know about the old Nokia brick phone?
Yes, she's correct.
Oh, okay. So, at least in the U.S., there was this phone made by Nokia. It was just a rectangle like this. No, it was just a regular phone, but we called it a brick. Yeah, like a brick of a building, right?
Because you could kill.
Yeah, it was very like tough, and it was basically indestructible. You could drive over it with a car, and then answer a call. Yeah, I think so. Oh, this was like 2000s maybe? Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah. We gotta have some.
Ah.
What do we call something else?
Oh, it did.
Yeah.
It was before the smartphones. It
Yeah.
just had a tiny little screen and only a T9 keyboard.
It's a 6310. You found it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was this one.
What happened?
Really young.
My interest in that sound is specifically its growth in grammar. It seems like when you add that to a word, it absolutely, because I can tell you or I can say that's way more intense, right? Than
It's gonna be more into pragmatic or semantics than probably pragmatics. It's gonna be in pragmatics field. It's not gonna be phonetics. Yeah, it's probably gonna be pragmatic. It's gonna be something about the cultural or something like that. I promise I will check it out. I promise. And if I don't find anything, I'm gonna bother my professor again. He probably loves that.
If I know what it's referred to, how it's called in academia, then I can go down my own rabbit holes.
I can probably find, because I still have, from my university, I have access to academia stuff, which is great, because I love reading research papers. So.
I think academics have studied such obscure things.
Oh, they do.
Very intense. Sometimes I even hear on the news. It's very rare. Is that leverage the two different A sounds?
Yeah. I think it's kind of funny how there's a branch called pragmatics. It's like the useful stuff that we don't know how to turn into any other category.
That's true. But it's actually useful and the most difficult to actually get in second language. I did the class also on discourse and pragmatics, and it's so common to people for people to actually don't know those stuff, because you don't learn it when you learn second language. You just need to get it.
Yeah. Oh, here we go.
Oh, here we go. So this is the Mandarin. Oh. That's pretty neat. Close. Yeah.
Whoa.
That's pretty close. Maybe you have similar sounds, or maybe you're just that good. Yeah, let's compare it to.
Oh, you're right.
Ah, wait, what's carrots? Yeah. Fear.
Oh.
Whoa. Wait a second. Yeah, here. We need to here 100, 200, or maybe now. Oh, okay, here. Okay, carrot is wrong. Carrot is wrong.
Way out there.
It got really up front with us. But the rest looks pretty good. Not gonna lie.
For future Spanish.
So here is the Mandarin one, and here is the. Wait, I don't remember. This was the Seoul one. Yeah, let me edit that Seoul. So this is the Seoul one, and this is Mandarin one. This is pretty close.
Oh, the U and the E are switched though.
Yeah, a bit. Yeah. U and the E.
Way out.
And carrot is. Woo, but the A is on spot.
Yeah.
O is also pretty good. U is also pretty good.
Oh.
E is correct. E, as long as it's in front, that's all that matters. Okay, I think we can